Welcome to Season 4 of Humans of AI. I'm Alora Weaver. This season, we're going deeper, not into the technology itself. You can get that anywhere. We're going into the lives of the people living with it, working with it, building organizations around it. You're going to hear two kinds of stories this season. First, the day in the life stories. What does it actually feel like when AI becomes part of your daily work? How are people's careers changing, their identities, their sense of what makes them valuable? And second, how organizations are doing this responsibly. Not just deploying agents and hoping for the best, but thinking through the cultural shifts, the ethical questions, the structural changes that agentic AI demands. We're starting with Diego Lomanto, Chief Marketing Officer at Writer. Diego spent his career at the intersection of humans and machines, from writing code as a kid to paying for grad school as a poker player, to leading marketing at some of the biggest names in AI. And he's developed a framework for what he calls the metagame, the deeper strategic layer that most people miss when they're thinking about AI at work. This is about more than marketing. It's about how we build organizations that can handle what's coming. Let's get into it. There's this moment that happens when you're playing poker, and Diego Lomanto spent years at those tables, where you realize the game isn't really about the cards at all. It's about reading the story someone else is telling, the narrative they're constructing with each bet, each pause, each subtle shift in posture. And here's the thing. Diego's been reading the room his whole life, first in code, then in probability, and now as Chief Marketing Officer at Writer, which is why when we sat down to record this episode, I had to get something out of the way first.
Oh, I'm going to call you my boss. Man.
Okay, yeah. We're not going to pretend that we don't work together. It's just...
No.
Okay, cool. Yeah, good.
Right, so full disclosure, Diego is my boss, but that is not why his story matters. Diego's story starts where a lot of tech stories start, with a kid who didn't quite fit in and a machine that made sense when nothing else did.
My parents immigrated here from Italy, hard-working, blue-collar immigrants, got a computer when I was a little kid, the nerd in my family. No one really understood me very well, but I was always, toiling away playing with my Commodore 64 and my early PCs.
Picture this. It's the late 80s, maybe early 90s. Diego's family doesn't really get why their kid is hunched over a glowing screen for hours, but Diego, he's discovered something profound.
I was just fascinated with the fact that I could make something and then it would actually do something. And so I was really fascinated with the fact that you can construct a reality and then simulate it.
Now, for 13-year-old Diego, constructing reality meant something very specific: simulating entire baseball seasons on his computer, building teams, running statistics, playing against the machine.
That was my first engagement with artificial intelligence, because you'd be playing against these AIs, but they were so early, they were deterministic. My fun thing to do would be to figure out how does the AI think? And then how can I counter that with strategies that would take advantage of their weaknesses, right?
So even back then, Diego was doing what he's still doing now, figuring out how machines think and how humans can work alongside them more effectively. But we're getting ahead of ourselves. Fast forward to Diego's 20s. He's in grad school, he needs money. He's discovered that all those hours simulating baseball statistics have given him a very particular set of skills.
Actually, in fact, I paid for grad school as a part-time poker player.
Now, you might be wondering what poker has to do with leading marketing at an AI company. Turns out, everything.
Poker is a perfect blend of the qualitative and the quantitative, right? There's the math, right? You got the funnel. You have your conversion metrics. It's very data intensive marketing. But at the same time, there's creativity and there's art to it, right? And there's human and there's storytelling and there's really connection.
Think about that for a second. Marketing is exactly like poker. You need to understand the numbers, the probabilities, the metrics, the cold hard data, but you also need to read the room. understand what story people are telling about themselves, know when to push, when to hold back.
You have to understand the metagame that's happening. You're telling a story with your hands. You have to understand the story people are telling with their hands.
And here's what poker taught Diego that serves him now: how to think probabilistically, how to separate yourself from the emotion of the moment and focus on the long game, how to get better at reading patterns. Which brings us to the work he'd do next, helping companies figure out how to bring technology into their everyday work lives.
Building enterprise-grade AI shouldn't be complicated. It should just work the right way. At Writer.com, we don't do everything. We do one thing. We build enterprise AI that unites business and IT. Business teams? Build your own AI agents. No code required. IT teams? Manage just one platform, not a plethora of point solutions. Writer.com creates AI tools that are safe, scalable, and smarter every time you use them. That's why Accenture, Qualcomm, Vanguard, and hundreds more aren't just doing enterprise AI the right way. They're doing it the Writer way. Book your demo at writer.com/demo.
Diego spent years in the automation world. Companies like UiPath building technology that could take over repetitive tasks, free people up to do more creative work. And it worked. Really well, actually. We're talking about a company that became what's called a decacorn, worth over $10 billion. But here's the limitation Diego kept bumping into.
Automation is a great technology, but it's deterministic. If you have a well-defined process that doesn't change, has very low variance, is repeated over and over again the same exact way, there's a lot of those processes.
Deterministic. That word again. Remember the baseball simulations? Those early AIs that young Diego figured out how to beat because they always responded the same way to the same inputs? Automation is like that. Brilliant for certain kinds of work, but limited.
But the work that is non-deterministic, that requires some thinking and has variance when it happens and has more outcomes than, A, B, or C, that is where AI now can be applied.
And this is the moment we're living in. The shift from deterministic automation to something much more interesting. AI that can handle variance, ambiguity, the messy, creative work that makes us human. Diego saw this coming, and he wanted to help companies tell that story. So Diego lands at Writer, an AI company, and almost immediately he starts hearing something from customers. The same refrain he's heard his entire career in tech.
Do more with less.
Every marketer knows this refrain. Do more with less. But with AI, it's gotten louder, more urgent. Now it's coming from executives who've seen the big, splashy demos, the kind designed to wow audiences at tech conferences, not necessarily to reflect what's actually working in the day-to-day.
It's not this blanket, hey, can you do more with less request? It's, hey, I saw these demos. I'm hearing about AI. It does these things. Hey, AI can write. Why don't we use AI everywhere and use it and cut your budgets?
And here's where Diego sees something that I think is really smart. He sees a paradox. If everyone is using the same AI tools, doing things faster and cheaper, then how do you stand out?
I actually think AI is forcing marketers to spend more time thinking about brand, differentiation, and personal relationships than ever before.
Wait, more time on relationships in the age of automation?
The best of the best. They're thinking about, how do I use AI to scale for speed, to really do things at a bigger, faster, more efficient pace so that I can focus on my differentiation, my brand, and actually put more humanity into my marketing.
Let me give you an example of what this looks like in practice. Diego tells this story about a big retail company, intimate apparel. Everyone knows the brand. When they launch a new product, they need to create thousands of product description pages, different vendors, different countries, different platforms. Before AI, this was a massive undertaking. Teams of copywriters, weeks of work, inevitable inconsistencies. Now,
they'll write a product brief, they'll write a product detail page, and then they'll use AI to scale it across all of the different vendors that they're going to actually be selling to. AI is helping them do that at a bigger scale, faster and cheaper, but also reach more actual channels.
But, and here's what matters, they're not just automating and moving on.
What they're focusing on is, well, what's the differentiation of this product? Like, they're putting more time into the creativity and the origination of the ideas, and then letting AI take it to scale.
More time on creativity, more time on what makes this product special, less time on the repetitive execution. It's the same pattern Diego saw as a kid. Humans doing what humans do best, machines handling what they're good at. So, how do you actually build a marketing organization for this moment? Diego has been thinking about this deeply. He's even written what he calls a manifesto, 3 core principles. Principle 1, build for speed, scale, and humanity. Your marketing engine needs to do 2 things at once. It needs to leverage AI for contextual relevance, getting the right message to the right person. But it also needs to create space for human creativity.
Your engine needs to have a way for not only people to focus on the human aspect, creativity and abstract thinking, decision making, but also a way for your engine and your AI to interact with your human.
And Diego sees something counterintuitive happening. CMOs are investing heavily in field marketing, in-person events, face-to-face meetings.
It feels a little counterintuitive because we're in the age of scale, but CMOs are realizing this, that I need to make these investments in these relationships because that's where you can really create a bond with your customer base.
AI handles the scale, humans handle the connection. Principle 2, AI as a team member. Not a replacement, not a person, but a member of the team that needs to be managed.
Pre-AI, marketing was a combination of subject matter experts doing things, operations teams, and technology. I think what you have to add to that mix is your AI management as well.
Someone needs to figure out which agents to build for departmental workflows. Someone needs to help individuals create their own AI solutions. Someone needs to manage the whole system. It's a new role, a new way of thinking about team structure. Principle 3, the mindset shift. And this is the hardest one.
I'm going to them and I'm saying, I want you to try something different and new and change the way you work every day. You've been doing this for 20 years. Now I want you to do something different. I want you to build an agent to do part of that job.
Diego's approach is direct. If someone wants to buy new technology or create a new process, they have to prove it can't be done with AI first. Example, at Writer, we don't use traditional sales enablement software. Instead, we built AI agents that do that work.
So you got to force people when they're about to do things the old way, stop and think, can AI do this? And if you can, make that investment in extra time to get it going for the first time.
You're spending 8 hours on a project now to save an hour every day going forward. Most people will choose the familiar 1-hour task every time, unless you force them to think differently. Now, you might be thinking, this sounds great for efficiency, but what about jobs? What about the people who get replaced? Diego has thought about this a lot, actually.
I'm a big student of technology history.
Diego's thinking is built on the ideas from 2 books. 2 books with very long titles. The first, by Carlota Perez, maps the predictable cycles of technological revolution. The other, by Marshall McLuhan, charts the human response to the defining technologies of the last 3 centuries: the telephone, the television, the automobile. You can find links to both in the show notes.
At one point, these were new technologies that society had to adjust and adapt to. And society tends to reshape itself around the technology.
It's not that history repeats itself, Diego says. It's that history rhymes.
Society will reshape itself. Society will persist. Society will survive. It's just going to be in a different form than what we got used to.
Which means the question isn't whether to adopt AI, it's how to adopt it in a way that lets people evolve rather than get left behind.
I am in the camp that no doubt you have to embrace AI. You have to wrap your hands around it. You just have to tackle it heads on and use it every day while it's uncomfortable until it becomes comfortable.
And Diego's vision for where this goes? AI as what he calls the organizational orchestrator.
AI orchestrating the work across the team and being more like a departmental conductor. I don't think we're ready for that yet, but then thinking about how we replicate some of the things that like our project management tools are doing so that people don't have to think about coordination and orchestration anymore. They can just do the work.
Just do the work. The creative work, the strategic work, the human work. That's the vision. So what kind of marketer succeeds in this world?
You need the people who know demand gen, people who know content, people who know comms, people who know product marketing, people who know the different functions and have studied and become expert in them. That's still really important, but are they complementing that with AI skills that enable them to do their job bigger, better, faster?
Subject matter expertise plus AI skills. That's the combination Diego's betting on.
I'm a techno optimist. I believe that this technology is going to shape marketing for the better, and we'll figure out how to adopt it in a meaningful way. And I'm excited about how it's going to enable people and really change the ability of companies to focus on actual differentiation, personalization, and relationships.
Which brings us back to poker, because of course Diego still plays.
I go play in the World Series every year just because for the competitiveness, I love it. I love playing a tournament. Just getting there and going deep in a tournament and playing against people. And I love it because you can also shut off work for a couple of days and just like be hyper-focused. When you're at a poker table playing against people, it's all about that moment and beating them in that spot. And you really need to absorb all the information happening in real time.
Absorbing information in real time, reading the story people are telling, knowing when to trust the probabilities and when to trust your gut. Sounds like marketing in the age of AI. Sounds like the game Diego's been playing all along. This is just the beginning of Season 4. Coming up, we have conversations with people who are actually figuring this out. Jevon Sue Lennox, formerly Chief People Officer at Stitch Fix and Incitro, now leading people at Writer. He'll tell us why the $10 billion difference between companies often comes down to culture, not technology. Nicole Alexander, who's led marketing and innovation at Meta and Nielsen, wrote the book on ethical AI in marketing, literally. She's going to walk us through what responsible implementation actually looks like. Bruno Aziza, VP of Data, AI, and Analytics at IBM. JP Gounder, VP and Principal Analyst on Forrester's Future of Work team. And many others who are living this transformation, not just theorizing about it. Here's what people have been telling us. This show is different. It's not the usual AI hype cycle. It's not just another tech podcast. It's the human stories, the actual day-to-day reality of what happens when this technology meets real work, real organizations, real lives. And that's what Season 4 is about. So subscribe wherever you're listening, because these conversations matter, and they're just getting started. I'm Laura Weaver. This is Humans of AI.